It's time for another Bricklink Designer Series. We are up to Series 7 now, which is actually kind of crazy. It feels like we're going through these really quickly, these series. I can't believe we're already up to Series 7. It is now the voting time for Series 7, so there is a lot of entries. I've gone through and looked through them all, and I've gone ahead and picked my top 10 that I will be voting for. So I just wanted to show them off and kind of share what I'm going to be voting for, and then would love to hear your feedback if these are also ones that you are going to be voting for as well. So voting is happening until February 21st at noon Pacific. And basically, they give you these 3 emojis, and you can just select if you love it, like it, or if it's not for you. So as you can see, there are 375 designs. I've looked through them all and narrowed it down to the top 10 that I like the most and that I would like to see made into actual sets. So let's go ahead and look at those. These are in ranked order from my least favorite to favorite of my top 10, but of course, it was kind of hard to order these. They're all really good. There was a lot of good builds. There was even some that I couldn't include in my top 10 that I just had to cut it off somewhere. So that's unfortunate, but there's a lot of really good builds in here. There's a lot of castles, and you will see that represented even in my top 10 list. But let's go ahead and look at my number 10 pick. At number 10, we have this island castle. This is really cool. It looks like lion knights. I love the trees all through here. It is a pretty simple build, but it looks nice. So I had to include it. You will see, though, there are a lot of castle builds in this list. So castle fans, you're going to love this. Space fans, maybe not. But castle has been a staple of the series, it seems like, or multiple series of Bricklink Designer Program sets. So I think this fits in naturally. It is pretty simple here, especially on the back, but I just like the overall colors with the blue and the greens, and it's just a nice looking scene. So that's our number 10. It looks like we got some fun trapdoors and traps and things all through here, which is pretty fun. But that's number 10. Let's go ahead and move on to the number 9 one. And number 9, we have this Elven Haven. This is a pretty unique looking build. The stripes on the roof look nice. The whole Elven feel is just pretty cool since I like Lord of the Rings and the Rivendell set. It kind of has a similar style or feel to it, but still is a little bit unique. It has this telescope out the top. The base of it does seem a little bit simple, I will admit that. The rockwork maybe could be a little bit more detailed, but I think it is a very unique feel, and it just stood out to me enough that I knew I had to put it on this list. I love the height of the tower. It's more of a geometric design rather than kind of the more fluid motion design that we see in sets like Rivendell. It's got an open back here, and it looks like it can open and close to get some different shapes, which a lot of sets have been doing lately, kind of following the Lion Knight's castle style. But let me know. I'm curious if this is one that you guys thought was cool as well, or if that's just me. But that's our number 9 submission. Let's go ahead and move on to number 8. So at number 8, we have this medieval fishing village. This is one that I think a lot of people are going to support. It is pretty similar, and it might even be the same designer to some of the winners of the other series, castle ones. So I have a feeling this designer has actually, let's see, does it say the designer? Oh, here, up here, Brickhammer. I have a feeling that's the same designer who has won some of the other votes. But hey, it's well worth it. He's a good designer, especially for this medieval stuff. This one I thought was pretty unique. It kind of feels like Lake Town, where all these houses are floating on the water, and that just is a unique feel. Something a little bit different, which is always nice to get with these sets. So it's good designs, looks like multiple buildings, lots of brown. Just a fun build. There we go. I like this overview. So we can kind of see what it's like. A bunch of different pieces, which is nice, I guess. I'm not sure if it would have been preferred to have it all like connected into one piece, or if it is nice having it separate like this. But it's a cool set. it would be pretty cool to see. It is, let's see here, 3,200 pieces, so it's fairly substantial there. But that is number 8. Let's go ahead and keep moving. You can see a lot of castle and fantasy ones. Let's go ahead and move on to number 7. Guess what? Another castle. So this one I thought was different, though. It was unique in the sense that it's more of a desert and sandy vibe to it. So I thought that was unique. I love the palm trees and the sand dunes kind of blown up against the walls. I think it looks really nice. And I can't tell if that's blue or purple, that coloring, but it goes well with the sand, whatever it is. I love how it opens up like this so you can display it more flat. That's kind of a fun aspect to it there. It looks really nice closed up with this little courtyard. I love how that looks. And then these banners look nice. Yeah, just a fun castle, and it felt a little bit different than what we normally get just because it is in kind of a drier or more desert area. So that's really the reason I picked this one, just because of the unique setting that it was in. All right, and now let's move on to number 6. We have the Japanese hot spring. There was a couple different Japanese or Asian-inspired architectural sets that I almost picked, and they were my runners-up to this list, but this was the one I ended up keeping just because I really liked the design. I thought the snow on the roof here looked really nice, and yeah, it just really, it felt like a solid piece, whereas some of the others, they were really good, but didn't quite have the same flow or cohesiveness that I felt from this one. So I decided to go with this one. I really like how this looks. In the winter setting is really nice too, adds to it. So it really gives it that kind of like hot spring feel because the water is melted, but there's snow and ice all around. And the architecture of this thing really kind of speaks for itself. That's really all I needed to see to vote for this one. It is a little bit different than some of my other picks though, so I totally understand if it's not the vibe that you guys would want to see, but this is just one that I thought looked cool, and it earned its spot here on my top 10. And then moving on to number 5. This one I thought was pretty cool. Another kind of unique one. But this is the Ancient Ruins Park. Now, this is like a historic site that has been turned into a museum, and that's pretty unique. I maybe would have preferred if it was just an actual like historic site with the islanders and everything. I really like the islanders theme. That's always been something that for whatever reason has been very interesting to me. And this one, I really like these colorful big statues, the whole natural setting that it's on this island. I love my nature and landscape scenes, so that really stood out to me in the stone statues. It just seemed really fun. So this one really stood out to me. This was one of the first ones I picked. As soon as I saw this, I added it onto my list. I knew I would like something like this. The island looks pretty good. Oh, I just noticed it's got this like water coming out of its nose or mouth or something. It's kind of interesting there. But yeah, even the rock work is pretty unique looking. It looks pretty fun. I love all of the snot. Actually, pretty much all of it looks like it's sideways bricks, which just adds a little bit more interest to it. The trees look good. I love that there's different like zones. There's this cave in the back. There's the front boardwalk with the statues. It just seems like a really fun set. Let me see how many pieces. 4,000 exactly. So that's pretty big. That's pretty substantial. But this is definitely one of my favorite ones on this list. The only reason it didn't get ranked higher is just because there were a lot of really good builds, and some of the ones that did get ranked higher really earned that spot. This is interesting, just seeing how it pops out, can slide in and out. And I don't know if it's meant to be kind of customizable, like you can move these sections around, or if it's just showing that it can be taken apart and transported, I guess. Either way, I really like this one. Again, it might not be one for everyone, but this is one that really stood out to me that I would love to see make it into the finalist. All right, now moving on to number 4. We have this Desert Empire. So again, another kind of desert theme, Middle Eastern setting to this one. This one is not something that we really see much of in LEGO, so just for its uniqueness, it earned a spot right here on my list. This one is pretty large. It is, again, 4,000 parts, but I love the architecture of it. There's a lot going on in this set, all these different levels. I love the coloring of this wall down here and of the front gate. That really stands out with the white and that really light bluish teal. Just looks really good in my opinion. The rock work down here. This one has been designed very, very well. I love the palm trees and the different colors that they use there. Those are really solid designs for a palm tree, and it's got this kind of open back so you can access everything, which is just always a nice little bonus. Yeah, there's really a lot going on in here with all these little rooms. It's a big one for sure, but this is definitely one of my favorite ones. All right, and then let's move on to our top 3. In our third position, we have the Lion's Keep, again by Brickhammer. He's just a very talented builder or designer, and again, another castle that has made it onto the list. This really stood out to me. First off, just because of the coloring of the rockwork here. I love the use of olive green for all the moss at the bottom. That really looks good. And then this whole entryway leading up to the second gate and then the tower up top. It looks really nice, really put together. Let me see how many pieces. Just shy of 4,000, so another very big one. But it can open up and close just like we have been seeing with some of the other ones lately. Quite a bit of minifigures included, which is always nice to see. Looks like the interior is a little bit on the simple side, but that's not the end of the world. The exterior is the most important part of it. Wow, it looks like it can come apart into quite a few different little sections here. That's actually crazy. That's a lot. That's a whole lot of little sections. So I'm sure all of these castles will not make it, but there's some good options this time around for some that could. So you can see from this video what I'm going to be voting for. Lots of these castles and fantasy style sets. But let's go ahead and move on to number 2 and see what that is. For number 2, this one is a bit of a unique one, but we have the Ishtar Gate. So this is a historical gate outside of Babylon, I believe, which is a big painted blue, very vibrant gate with these paintings of animals. I don't know if it's camels or goats or horses or what these are meant to be, but this is a very impressive build. I really like how this looks, and the fact that it's like an actual historic build is pretty cool to me. I love ancient history and civilizations, and so this is right up my alley. The design is really nice with all these sideways. The sideways way they built all of these animals looks really good. This is one that I would really like to see. I don't necessarily feel like this is one that has a lot of likelihood in getting created, I guess, getting picked, just because this is a little bit different than what they normally do. But hey, it's on here, so if it gets enough support, maybe they would consider it. This is one that I definitely would love to see. It has 2,875 parts, so a little bit less than some of those other ones. Even on the inside, it looks like they have some, I don't know if this is meant to be like a museum setting or what this is all meant to look like, but it looks cool, like some art over here, a tapestry. I am very impressed with this one, so this is one I would love to see, but definitely not for everyone. All right, and then moving on to the number 1 pick, we have the Scarlet Bastion. This one really stood out to me just because of the unique pop of color. You don't see these like red castles, these red keeps very often. So this one really stood out to me. And then even all of the little details all along the bottom, they just look really good. The architecture and design of this one really stood out to me as well. It does seem like just an all-around really impressive set. I love the use of these yellow kind of fall colored trees. That really does add to it. If it was green, it would have just looked like a Christmas build with the green and red and white. So I think that was really smart going with those kind of autumn colors. That really does, I think, kind of pull out the color, or not distract from the color at least, by having a completely contrasting color in the trees. So that looks good. And the black and white banners, I think, was also a good choice. The design of this really looks good. Again, it can open up, and this bridge here in the middle, that's kind of fun how they did that, how they turned those balconies into a bridge. And then this wooden tower or elevator or whatever this is looks pretty good as well. And on the back, we can see the openings. It does look like a smaller build. And yeah, it's just shy of 4,000 parts, but it does look a little bit smaller than some of the others. It's just using a lot more pieces probably to get some of these details in the smaller spaces. So even though it's a little bit smaller, it is packed with those details. So it does look really good because of that. So those are my top 10 picks. Let me know if these are ones that you would vote for as well, or if you have different ones that you are keeping an eye on. Make sure you get your votes submitted before it expires here in a couple days. That would just stink to not get your votes counted. So make sure you do that and don't forget to just submit those. But let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed these ideas, and if you would like to see these ones, or maybe you're not a big fan of Castle and you hate this list. I'd love to hear that too and hear which ones you're voting for in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all the support. I'll see you in the next one.